Hey there, it's Daryl again, and tie up another fly for Louisiana. Might do one more. Don't have anything really for top water, so I'm thinking about what I should tie for that. If you have any comments, put those in the ideas, put them in the comments. The fly we're going to tie today is called RZ's Backcountry Booger, and gives you almost an idea what it is. And we've done one of his other flies, Captain Rome Felde from Naples, and this one here, even though it comes down to it is a woolly bugger, and but it's tied on a much bigger hook, and does have a weed guard. You can tie it with or without a a cone head, but the one I'm going to show you doesn't have a cone head on, but we will be tying one that way and putting a weed guard on there and show you how I do that. Alright, let's take a look at this fly. Well, this here is RZ's Backcountry Booger, and you can see it's nothing but a woolly bugger, but we're going to be tying the next one in with a cone head. And on there, he developed, or didn't really develop, his variation of the woolly bugger is for saltwater, is primarily for snook, tarpon, and redfish, maybe even speckled sea trout, whatever else. So why don't we go ahead and put a hook in and get tying this big woolly bugger. I'm going to be tying them on a saltwater size X2 XPoint by Daiichi. Number is X472, and it's a 3X long shank on there. And I'm going to use some tungsten cone heads. They're large. And if you'll notice that when I try to put it on there, it's not going to go through. I have to debarb the hook if I'm going to tie these in if I'm going to tie them in with a cone head. So why don't I go ahead and get that done. And go ahead and put that in there. And the thread I'm going to use is some 210 in orange. And we'll just start that behind the cone head, and we'll take it back to where the barb used to be and tie in our tail. And the Marabou I'm going to use is ginger in color, maybe tan if you can't find ginger. And we're going to wet that down so we can manage it a little bit, and we don't want that to be any longer than the hook shank. Yeah, that trip for Louisiana is only, we leave the end of this month. That'll be kind of fun, exciting. We got a few people going. And I'll add that we're going to want to make sure we're leaving some gap in that cone head to put that weed guard in there. The next material we're going to use is some yellow. I'm using yellow crystal flash. The recipe calls for yellow/pearl. And it says 10 strands on the recipe. You could probably use less if you wanted, but I'm not counting. I'm just what looks like maybe 5 and then doubling it in there. And we'll start it like on the top. And then I'm going to force it around to the side. And then bring balance of it to this side here. Kind of brush it back so it's on either side of our Marabou. And then I'm going to cut it just slightly longer than the Marabou. The hackle, I'm going to tie the hackle in now. And I'm going to use where all this webby stuff is right over here. You know, this is half of part of a cape. And I suppose you could use a saddle hackle if you wanted. But a lot of times when I've got these hackles material like that, I'm tying, you know, a lot smaller flies. I'm not using these webbier stuff, so it would be ideal for maybe this fly or any other woolly buggers. And go ahead and tie this in right where I got that. And I also suppose you could, if you wanted to reinforce the woolly bugger, you could maybe do wire or some type of rib. On there. Next material I'm going to use is some variated chenille in yellow and brown. Clean off some of the fibers so that you don't have not building too much of a bulk. Take this up just back behind the cone head. Then we're going to go ahead and wrap this. Not going to jam it up in there. I'm just going to kind of cut it off right here. And then we're going to go ahead and wrap our hackle. And I like to give my woolly bugger at least one full turn back here at the tail. And then go ahead and spiral wrap moving up. And trying to get it put in between those wraps of the chenille when we were wrapping it. And then when we get to the cone, give it one full wrap there. And I see we got a lot of room yet to put in a weed guard. I'm using some hard mono saltwater tippet in 30 pound, and we don't need much because I'm just going to put a single in there. I'm not going to try to do a double one like I normally will do. And a little hint when you're doing a single is try to flatten the monofilament here. You'll be able to tie it in, or it'll lock in better and won't turn on you. And we're going to slip that into the cone head. And the other thing about the orange thread, it's going to create a hot spot right there. And then I'm going to go ahead and put a few wraps behind it a little bit to stick up our weed guard. Fingers a little bit to pull that back. And then I'm going to go ahead and apply a little bit of head cement to my thread and then wrap it a few more times. To help lock it in. Give it a 4 or 5 turn whip finish. Kind of knocked it out of whack. And this is primarily for shallow water or in the weeds. And kind of pull this back so it's just goes a little bit above the wire. So when the weeds are pushing, it'll go down. And there you have it. RZ's woolly booger fly called the backcountry booger. There you have it. That's the woolly, the booger, the backcountry booger without a bead head, and we just tied the one with. Both of them would probably work very well in shallow water. The one without the cone head is more or less for even shallow water, cast it into the grass. The cone head version might go into the grass and sink a little faster. It all depends on what that fish wants or what you're seeing. But yeah, tie them up and give it a try. Maybe those redfish in your area or the snook will go for it, and if maybe baby tarpon, who knows? But anyway, give it a try. We'll see you on the water.